Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks. This is a follow-up to video that I made yesterday. So today's July 4th, 2026, and I am going to speak a bit about targeted individuals. This phrase is kind of trendy. It's, in the alternative media space right now. I'm, reminded of Deconstructing Distortions in the series is the Comprehending Consciousness that I did. This is, a bit like that. I'm taking this phrase and I'm going to talk about it for a little while. Sponsored by a comment from a wonderful viewer, and thank you. I said that at the other video, but really I appreciate it. Anyone and everyone who poses questions, comments, gives their own insights and perspectives, because truly that's what we're here to do, share and learn from each other. And to see through another's eyes what they are encountering. So, I made this other video yesterday about sort of what the foundation of reality really is, and understanding where authority lies, where our lens of focus and actual dominion of, activity can be. Because a lot of things get misinterpreted in the layers of where you actually have the right, the responsibility, and the opportunity to make change or to impress any sort of opinion, frequency, impact into. So understanding, and recap quickly in case anybody, the link I'll put in the description in case anybody wants to watch, but just to say that we have these three lenses of reality, I like to call them, or ways that you can, worlds that we're involved in. The inner world is you, yourself. Everything within you is your inner world. We have full dominion and responsibility within that inner world. It is the world that we observe automatically, and it is also the world that where anything happens within, as the sole observer. And in order to actually ever have another person in this experience of separation, to know what has happened in your inner world, you have to translate and share outward into direct world, whatever the sensations, the occurrences, the epiphanies, whatever. Inner world is for individual only. So, it's independent to creator consciousness that's been bestowed and activated within each alive, awakened person. We can get into conversations. Different awarenesses are bestowed to different types of beings. Like NPC type of being is not going to have an individuated activation of consciousness. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have other types who have an activated awareness in other layers, like in third-party reality space. And those can look like sort of paranormal gifts, these sort of supersensory ESP type of things, where someone almost seems like, they don't have control over it, or that it's special to them, or sort of out of the norm of what most people, humans, are aware of. And I don't know, they have different names for inside the kind of jargon of the simulation, where we have NPC, first person player, there's like the avatar of like the mystic or the sage, or a glitch in the matrix, or whatever. You have all of these different people who like a magician or something within the construct that sort of unlocks levels for others or sees things differently than others. But mostly what I'm going to just speak about is sort of regular auto set. And for us, for normal kind of in the middle gauge, the inner world, and then we have the direct world, which is the world that everyone comes in and out of, the world that you're placed in, whatever your set and setting is part of your direct world. Anything you've ever actually gone to, people you've actually seen, spoken to, even strangers that you just glanced by, all of that becomes incorporated in this secondary shell bubble of space that I call the direct world. In the direct world, we have a gradient of authority and dominion, and we have an opportunity for integration and exchange and impact to be made. It's not full, no questions asked impact to be made sort of in the inner world, but the direct world, you have an impact, and others can have an impact if you choose to allow it to be an impact upon yourself. And then we have this third-party reality space, which is the external reflection, and we do not have any dominion out there. We have a very small, aspected, diluted realm of influence out there, and that collective, I call it a collective reflective a lot of times. Because it's sort of, it's a collection of the entire collective of humanity, plus some others, and it's a reflection. It's like a mirrored surface that images bounce off of and are projected back at us. And some of the makeup and some of the architecture is their own sort of propaganda plastered up like billboards of marketing for their systematic overlay, the negative overlay. And some of it is natural casting out of projections from the direct world of others that you haven't actually encountered and been a part of. And so it ends up sort of like a reflection created out there of the sort of after the horizon kind of out there on intangible, unreachable happenings. The collective reflective is full of things like media, the internet, television, news, all of those kind of telephone game stories and gossip stories out there that you never actually witnessed to, or and have a great potentiality to be distorted and confused and manipulated. And so, we have very little accountability, very little dominion out there. And it's very important that we're mindful of what we even see out there and how we choose to interact with that third-party reality space. I talked about that in the video beforehand, so I'll if you want to hear more about that, you can watch that if you didn't hear it already. But today, what I'm going to speak about is targeted individuals happening for a couple of different reasons, and what this can really look like. And as I said before, it's kind of like a trendy phrase. It's not new, of course. This is nothing new at all. And there's a couple of different arms of functionality, avenues of operation, and some are a bit more obvious than others. So first, let me give the two categories that I sort of offered and I spoke about at the end of the video, right? The last video, which is we have the first set of targeted individuals is our group that have encountered, asked for, desired to be a part of this structure. And this comes in sort of a twofold happenings about how and why we ask for attention from the collective. And not just from the collective, but we have to understand that the collective itself can mean many different things to different people. And when we have hijacks going on, or we have a lot of separation and a lot of negative agendas and alignments, sometimes, these clubs seem appealing to want to be a part of. They seem exclusive. They seem very, some of them can be esoteric and secretive. Some of them can be very exoteric and obvious, and like it's a prize to be a part of them because they're so famous. And others are like, oh, it's so secretive, so it's a prize to get behind every veil and be the, the upper echelons of these groups. So there's different reasons as to why we'd want to be a part of them, and why those around us want to be a part of them. Now, those who've chosen that, there's two roles. There's those who choose to be a part of it within the construct. So, birthed into their place, set and setting, on purpose, with purpose. Their purpose is to raise their hand in the magic show and become from the audience, a part of the stage. Or to be like in the background character in a reality show, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're like the new, you were a stranger walking by, and now all of a sudden you're a housemaid on the show because you wanted to be a part of it. You looked in the window, or you asked to play the cast role or whatever, and you become a part of their constructs. Secondary, asking for it, which we kind of forget about, or some people don't like this idea, but this is to be born into families who are already a part of whatever secret club's going on. It is my strong understanding and gnosis given by God that each one of us is on purpose with purpose, and that the conscious fractal that chooses to incarnate and have this vision of this life, the sort of player that gets, every player gets pinpointed out with a plot line and a story arc, and all the people around them, right, in this sort of source simulation that I've been talking about previously. Player one, who's getting into all of these roles, when they're going to go play this character and that character, they have a little pop-up, like this is the lifetime, this is the course of corrections, this is the things that they'll fall into. Hit start if you want to try that one out. This is the things this person's going to be born into and start out with. Hit start if you'd like to do that, And it's an active choice. Every position has to be played out anyways. So you have chosen to be birthed into family or construct or whatever cult, whatever closed-circuited group, or whatever kind of trauma loops that you feel that you were just birthed into. You chose, your soul, your fractal, Jesus incarnate, the Son of God who decided to play every role. He knew, and he said, I'm strong enough for that. I'll do that. I'll break that shell. I'll break those chains. I can do that. And so, yeah, if even if bad things, if you were born into this sort of targeted individual realm, and whether that means you were born into some kind of like cult following, you were born into some kind of mind control, you were born into their medical science hierarchy of hijacking, and you were forced into things in that kind of way, or whether you were born into a judiciary hierarchy or a police family, or all your family is surgeons or something, or and you're really driven into, you feel pushed or built for this sort of realm, yeah, you were. And it's not to crush you. It's not to belittle you. It's in fact because you felt the challenge was at capacity for you. You felt like you could handle that role. And so there's targeted individuals who are on purpose with purpose to be a part of those structures, whether to invigorate them or to break them apart, because all parts of the whole, all players in the game have a purpose, right? Like I said in the other videos about a scary movie, or thrillers or action-packed movies or whatever. There's like good guy and his team, bad guy and his team. And bad guy and his team, all of his, super bad people, each one of them has an important role to play and has to have that sort of makeup and setup to interact in the whole storyline and to play the part of the role, so that the other hand can play the saving role or the freeing role or whatever the case is. So, either we're born into, on purpose, with purpose, into these structures, and to help with the balancing of those structures. The secondary idea, and of course this is nothing set in stone, this is just, my own personal opinions, my own personal sight and understanding. But the secondary version of targeted individuals are a bit like flies caught in the spider's web. There's a subsection and a working of negative agendas hierarchy that creates what you could call traps or snares. I like to look at them like webs of control. That's what I sort of call them. And they're like spider webs. In just like where a spider creates a web at, it's very intelligently placed, and it's usually in in a place that is safe to the spider, right? I mean, yeah, of course, there's outside outliers to this, but I'm just saying in generalities for metaphor speaking, so that we can gain clarity instead of choosing outliers to create more confusion. We can look at sort of the medial space and work at that to create clarity. So there's these tools and functions and places and spaces which are seemingly openly set traps. They're not controlled rigorously with structuring and instructions. And most of the negative hierarchy is very rigid and structured, and very much kind of like a board game. And even in a board game where there's some sort of chance, that even the chance is controlled because the cards were pre-written, every loop in potentiality and possibility for the board game pieces to go around with every different card has already been analyzed, processed, and known by the system that creates it in a negative alignment, because they would never leave anything to true open chance. They don't believe in it. They don't even believe that it's real. They've told themselves and their laws confirm to them that it's not real, that there isn't source, that there isn't God, that there's no such thing as mysterious chance or something that is unbeknownst to them, because they refuse to accept it, But that's the makeup of their characters on purpose in the game, in the simulation, in the world that we're a part of. So they have these spider webs that are seemingly sort of set out in hidden, non-obvious places that are secure to them, but that are also left sort of open to catch any outliers, any kind of lost sheep, any kind of like flies just buzzing around, people who are not in the audience of their show for whatever reason. So there are people who just kind of stumble into these things and are not 100% part of the sort of outline and the blueprint that they're impressed upon to come and serve and be a part of. In the secondary cases, it seems, almost to be by chance, like I said, that these kind of things happen. There doesn't seem to be a direct world connection that sort of like pre-aligns them to negative agenda systems. And, this is another, I'm just going to say quickly, this is where I sort of draw a line and start to make distinctions and talk about systematically what is the difference between a coincidence and synchronicity. Because to me we can differentiate between the two, and we can really see a flow function that's completely different in how these two seemingly surprise activities happen. And the spiderweb trappings are coincidence. Coincidences are not synchronicities. Synchronicity is live consciousness that courses through the whole, that comes through the spirit layer, that activates through mind, that impresses life in body, and that is free-flowing and 360-degree full spectrum. So it's an allowance of all potentialities, having this sort of open awareness. Now, when we have this kind of quality and this frequency, and we operate through this frequency, it's almost like a language. If we speak it, the universe speaks back to us, and it calls together synchronistic happenings and desires to fulfill. Because, like I mentioned in the previous videos about this being an exploration of manyness and a simulation of all potentialities must want to be played out. And so if we have a calling for these certain lineup of potentialities to now come into play, it's almost like different gateways lining up is synchronicities through universal awareness, through source consciousness that guides us to golden timelines. And they all kind of line up for us in a way that we don't project, we don't imagine, we do not have a first person inner world through direct fishing line kind of, we do not do this blueprint sketch out ourselves to what happens with synchronicities. This is what makes it synchronicities. It's seemingly unbeknownst to us, we see the hand of God sketch. We feel the pull of the magnetic doors calling us in a way that is a surprise to us, is something we didn't imagine, that we didn't apprehend, that we didn't comprehend before, that we didn't call to us on purpose. Coincidences are those things that we think we plot and project and then follow a map towards. And when the map of the line that we have predetermined hits right, those are coincidences. They are pre-planned, coming together, forced imagery of projections that our mind or a system's CEO's mind, so whoever's building these boundaries, wants to happen. And it's a step-by-step instructions that it's very ego, very shadow controlled, that they very much know that each point is being made. And to some people who are involved in the system, it might seem like a synchronicity to them. It might seem like it comes out of nowhere for them and for their experience in their first person reality space. But in direct world around them, they don't notice that all of the agenda has actually pre-planned all of those check-off synchronicities. Oh, this is happening. Oh, this happened. And it's all actually leading into a trap. It's not leading into the higher gates of change and evolution and shifting up into your highest good, closer to God source, closer to heaven, whatever you want to look at, that synchronistic, organic line of change and compatibility. This is an inorganic compatibility that forces changes into an ultimate goal over in another area that will seemingly trick and sponsor this strange energetic desire to now follow suit with a negative alignment. And they get a big payout when they can sort of half coerce, but almost seemingly willingly really get creator consciousness involved in their coincidental plans to fuel it with this energetic current that's compatible to their alignment. Because, true source connection and actually listening to spirit and having that fluid conversation with that, you'd never follow a plot and plan of a negative hierarchy, because source will be whispering to you, telling you that there's some things off, something's not right, this is too good to be true kind of things. And it's... if we don't listen to that, we'll be knocked right out of their plan, because source truth has a certain frequency vibration that it cannot, negative agenda cannot handle it. It will break apart all their plans. It will just call them to truth, and it's very dangerous for them to be called to truth. So they need a certain flavoring of the energy to follow all of their check marks through their obstacle course, and they get a huge payout if they can do that. Sort of like blinded people leading the way through with this strange fear, like hope but tainted with fear, and what's the word? A servitude. That's the word I'm looking for. A servitude to be led in this kind of way, like, I don't know the right way. Here, you tell me. You must have this right way. It looks so great. Let me follow your way. And your way is a confined, systematic way, part of 3D reality. The real way of your way to speak to God, to speak to Source, and find the real right way is what we should really be practicing and looking for. But many of us can get led off onto these things. And this is how we sort of stumble into traps. This is how, creator consciousness can get wrapped up in and have pole flips and have inverted systematic issues with your own torridos as you barely even notice until, we're at a crisis event, or until the mousetrap falls at the very end of the whole handheld walkthrough. And you're like, shoot, I'm in prison now. I'm like trapped into this, So these are, the two kinds of different individuals that I feel encounter this phenomena of being noticed by the archonic overlay. Now talk for about 26 minutes. And people, individuals, we are infinite in our diverse experiences and in what we choose to develop in our own portion of our gifted fractal. And so we can be both of these types or neither of these types at different times and in different places, and sometimes even seemingly simultaneously. So, like I said in the first video, having a standing ground and understanding that we are responsible for what we encounter, and also how we perceive what we encounter. Most importantly, how we choose to respond and integrate what we think we see and what we think we understand about what we see. The way that we respond back about it, the way that we process, choose to balance or not balance these kind of things, thoughts and experiences, really determine everything. So that's my kind of uncovering about, the types of people who can be targeted individuals, and also a little bit about like how they work inside the setup. As far as, real life examples, as far as, combating these things, or thinking in our own personal mind frame, like if we are or how we could be. From my personal, perspective, is I really maintain the truth that our internal environment, the thoughts we choose to enliven and think more on, versus thoughts that we just say, oh, silly thought, go, not worth it, see ya, pass on by, blow away, chaff in the wind, or whatever you want to look at it as, that type of work, is our best offense and our best defense against these kind of things. Because although I've talked in generalities and I've talked a bit metaphysically, there is certainly a materialistic, physical world embodiments that can be very real and very uncomfortable for people, and I'm not trying to discount it or say that it's not happening at all. Sometimes what we really need to hear is, certainly it is happening. Certainly the risk is out there. And understanding the gravity of the risk so that we can work on protecting ourselves in a real manner, you know. And in that case, when we do protect ourselves in a real manner, we do take threats seriously, when we do take the world in a way that has a gravity of meaning and purpose with it, then we can actually operate from a place that can say, I don't need to concern myself with any of that, and feel grounded, comfortable, and really true in it. Not in that kind of worrisome way where it's like, oh, I'll just blindfold myself and I guess I'll just hope for the best to happen, something's going to save me kind of way. That is, really rooted in victimhood and has, is not any sort of vigorous activation of sovereignty. And and we can struggle with this. Everyone struggles with this, struggles at different times of of your life in different ways. Not trying to say that it's like just simple in the fact that it's easy to do. It's simple in the fact that it's easy to explain, but it's very difficult actually to do, and to do again, and to do again. And it's every present moment that it needs to be felt and known. And so any moment you could forget, and any moment you can remember. And so again, it's like it's the power of choice. And how we choose to respond and interact if we are encountered with real life scenarios of feeling like being targeted, stalked, followed, watched, pinpointed and critiqued, and really having this sort of microscope put on us, right? The best, and I think probably the only remedy to that feeling is to say, actually, wait a minute, I am always watched, I am always seen, I am observed under a microscope, I am seen from a cellular level, from the inside out, actually, all times, by Source, by the Great Father, the Logos, Mother Earth, my spirit guide, my grandmother, my higher self, whatever you want to call that gnosis, whatever you want to call that deep integrated connection, I am always seen by that, actually. That sees everything. And hey, crazy stalker, hey, crazy NSA agent watching me through your camera right now, he's in you too. He's watching you too. So yeah, you might think that your attention, you might think that your observation of me matters. You might think that you're doing something by watching me. But guess what? You're doing God's work. And so am I, because I see you too. And I know you're watching me, and I have no fear about being seen. I have no fear of being watched or wrongly accused or rightly accused, please. Because when we live from a transparent space and we're seeking positive productivity with ourselves, and, our systems are functioning and flowing well with balance, there is nothing to fear. There's nothing wrong. We're doing nothing incorrect. And so, what's the problem with being seen? For real. I get the qualms about, we can look out our first person eyes and just talk about people and, privacy and these kind of things. I get that kind of stuff. And of course, I'm not trying to okay or sponsor or tell people that they should be stalkers or peeping Toms or any of these kind of, you shouldn't be hacking into people's cameras and trying to watch them and all this kind of stuff. Of course, that stuff it doesn't operate from positive productivity. That is very singularly aligned. It's very self-gratifying. It's super negative. Anyone who's actually seeking to just be a good person wouldn't even want to do any of those things. So, to me, it's like you don't matter. And in fact, when this is exchanged out, when there is a frequency level of carefree honesty, those watchers don't even, they're bored. They don't want to watch people like that. They don't care to interact with people like that because they know they're going to have no stake, no grip hold in them. Their bait is not going to work. Their fishing hook is going to come back empty. Their snare's never going to work. You're going to bounce into that spider web, feel it for a second, and fly right out because God is going to pull you right out of that and say you don't belong in there. If you even end up in there. Or you might just fly right through their beautifully, perfectly made webbing. And it happens plenty in organic life. We see it all the time. Go watch some nature shows and see sort of the miraculous savings of like insects or other like prey and a predator. It's not a guarantee always. And when we understand that and know that, and you live in this truth for yourself, that layer will always come through for you. And
sorry.
Oh, it's okay. And you'll notice if you can really cultivate and start to build up sovereignty, unconditional love within yourself, real self-love, seeking good energetic flow, and looking at your systems honestly, observing in your inner world with honest positivity of serving the self as a great reflection of the whole, of other self, of source creator, seeing that within yourself and doing that work, you build a foundation, and these things will lessen around you. And even if they don't lessen right immediately around you, your responses change immediately, and that causes a ripple effect. And that is going to change what the negative agenda around you thinks that they need as a tactic to continue to try to wrangle you in or observe you or bother you. And so they might switch up to another standard technique. And when that one doesn't work, they might switch to a different, and it doesn't work. And you have to just get comfortable in this sort of, I am rubber and you're glue. What you say bounces off me and sticks to you. The simple little silly things, the sticks and stones little rhymes that we're all taught as children. This is we live in a spiritual warfare world. And the better that you just own it and know it, the safer you're going to be. And the better your life is going to actually turn around. And the quicker, the encounters and the shifts and the circuitry changes will happen for you if you're actually seeking true correction, if you're actually seeking that highest best path for yourself. And again, the watchers, the ushers, all of these different arms and legs, I'll come back on a different video and talk a little bit. Maybe I'll bring back I'll post it again on YouTube and on Telegram. If you're interested, I don't know where, I might have it on my website as well already. I'll go check over there if I have these infographics up on my website. But if you really would like to see them close up for yourself, I give them out for free all the time. Send me an email or a message over on Telegram. Leave a comment that you'd like them, and I can send them to you of the sort of diagram of the hierarchy, and talk about a bit of some of the tools and some of the tactics and these main characters that sort of that work within the hierarchy. But yeah, that for now, I guess I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for listening to me this morning. Questions, comments, love to hear them. Agreeing, disagreeing, things I missed or not brought up, or things that you liked, I'd love to hear it. So always feel free to leave comments. It's great for others to see comments down there too, to know that organic intelligence is still here on the internet interacting, that we are real people, and that we can have conversations where we respect the reality of how real each person actually is. Bring back humanity into things instead of this really disconnected, hate-sponsored division. We don't need any of that. I don't care whether you like me or disagree or love me. All interactions are welcome. As long as they're not aggressively abusive. That's always an issue. But anyways, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.